Welcome to Daily Armor. Today we're going to be in Luke chapter 22. We're going to be looking at verses 24 through 27. Jesus is teaching a very wonderful lesson to the disciples. We're going to see the issue in verse 24 of what's going on, and then we're going to see how Jesus explains what the remedy is. Some of the previous devotions were about looking at ourself, looking at our walk. The Lord's going to shine some light on those things. He's going to expose some things that we can identify with what's going on here in the text. I think that all of us can apply this personally, whether it's with others or with self. I think all of us have got an issue with this, or have had one at one time or not in our walk with the Lord. So let's get to reading 24 through 27, and it says, "Now there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest." Which of them should be accounted the greatest? This is the issue. There was a strife. They were arguing. I can find that sometimes that I have a little strife between going on, with myself and maybe, my husband or my, whatever the case may be. But more of my problem probably is with self. I seem to have a conflict with self in a lot of different situations, but we definitely need to be addressing when there is strife among maybe among friends or among family members, siblings, spouses, neighbors, whatever the case may be. There can be a strife. And when there's a strife, that means there's an argument and nobody wants to give in. Nobody wants to let things go. Nobody wants to say, you know what, I'm gonna just step out. If this is gonna cause us to harm our relationship, then I just, I'll just give in to this or that, or let you have it, or whatever the case may be. Let you have your way, let you have what you want. We've all had dealings with situations like that. The Lord's using a really good example here, two in fact that he's using that they can relate to. And he said unto them in verse 25, "The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors." They can relate to that. So here they are in Jerusalem, but Romans are ruling. Romans are exerting a lordship over them. They have influence, they have power. They can bring others under control. They can arrest people. They can have, there's all kinds of things that they were, by their position, their title of honor, in their eyes and in the eyes of others, that they could, they could get their way. And you had to be careful what you said, what you did, how you reacted, how you acted, and they could relate to that. That was going on in their day. And then we also see here that the Lord's saying, "But ye shall not be so." So they're having strife over who's going to be the greatest, over, Lord Jesus, we know you're fixing to set up your kingdom, and we, well, of course I should be on your right hand. Well, of course I should be over this. Of course I should be over that. So everybody's kind of feuding and fussing and striving over what position they're going to get, what position they're going to have. They're getting excited. The people are really, really lifting up Jesus, and they think, well, we're along for the ride, and so we're going to they're lifting themselves up, and we have to be very, very careful. And the Lord's saying, you're getting it all wrong. That's not what your purpose is going to be. And that's for the kingdom hereafter. That's not for the work that is to be done now. But he's showing them here. Let's look at verse 26. "But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger." Let him be as the younger. I have siblings. I immediately was thinking about how the sibling thing goes. And even watching my 4 children when they were younger, Colby is my oldest, and he was very bossy. I would say that in my family, I'm older than my brother, and I have older step siblings, but even before all of that changed when I was very young. Of course, I was older than my brother, and I was, he was mine, and he had to do what I said, and he had to do this, and he had to do that, and he had to play what I wanted to play, and we had to do it my way, and we didn't do it his way. Well, don't be silly, don't be crazy. You're the little brother, and you have to do what I want us to do. And as I've just had a new grandson, and as my granddaughter Avery, it's not even started just yet. But she is going to be the bossiest big sister ever. She is going to, because she tries to boss all of us around, and she's very bossy. And as the older, it just made me think about that older sibling is used to getting their way. They're used to things, being the way they said they need to be. They're the first ones that's going to get to drive. They're the first ones that's going to get to do this. They're the first ones that's going to get to do that. And then you, as being, when you're a younger sibling, then you're kind of just in a bad position. And so when the Lord is telling us to be like that, think like that, then we have to remember those relationships that emulate that. For those of you like my husband who doesn't have any siblings, and so he didn't have anybody to boss around, but he also didn't have anybody bossing him around. So for those of you that are kind of like that, and you can't really relate to that sibling thing, even if you've watched it, but you don't know how to relate to that, then think about being that new person at work, being that newbie. I remember, I am a big fan of NCIS. I don't watch it as much anymore, but that was my show for so many years, and that's just, I just loved it. And I remember when they would have new people come on to the show, and they would be, everybody's working for Gibbs, and you had DiNozzo and stuff, and somebody new would come along, they would call them the probie. You're the probie. And what that meant was you're going to get all of the bad stuff. If a dumpster has to be, if there's evidence in that dumpster and it stinks and it's nasty, the newbie, the probie is going to be the one that's going to have to get in there and do all that nasty stuff. And the senior agent is going to stand back and not lift a finger. The Lord is saying, you're not going to be that way. If you think about being the new person and at a new position, at a new job, and probably all of us can relate to that at some point in life where you've been the new person. Maybe you've been the new person at school or the new person at work. A new person at work is going to not have seniority. They're not going to have influence. They're not going to have as many benefits. This is the way the system works. You're usually, if there's, if you put in for vacation, if somebody that's been there longer has put in for the same week and there's going to be a conflict, then you don't get to take your vacation when you want to take your vacation because the person that's been there longer has seniority. And that's not the case in a lot of positions, but in some cases that might be the case. The benefits are going to be different. So the Lord is saying in all these kind of circumstances that you can relate to, that somebody has seniority over you, somebody is in charge of you, somebody has got a higher position of honor than you, and you know how you've been treated, you're not going to be that way. That's not for you to do. It's not about you being so great at this or that and that you're going to get to be bossy about all these people. They're thinking, Lord, we're going to reign with you. We're going to be up there with you. We're going to be, taking charge of this and taking charge of that. We're going to get them back, Lord. We're going to get them back, and we're going to make sure that they, that they don't get a piece of, of what we've got. And so they're looking at who's greatest, and they're fussing over it. There's strife among them. They're fussing over it. Well, I should get this and I should get that. You shouldn't get that. You haven't been doing this. You didn't do this or that. It's what he's telling us is it's not to be this way. It's not going to be for you. Look what it says. Verse 26 again. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger. And then another description, another way of describing it, Jesus says, and he that is chief as he that doth serve. So if you think about that person who is the boss, he's the chief, he's the head honcho, He's the king, he's the captain, he's the whatever the position is. He is the head honcho. Those people don't have to do the hard labor. They don't have to, they've got people for this and they got people for that, and they can assign this task to somebody. They get to delegate. And what were the disciples wanting to do? They were wanting to get to delegate some things. They were wanting to, be an authority over some things. And he's saying, that power and that position that you're striving for, that's not what you're to do. We've got work to do. And he doesn't want us to strive for power and position and accolades and achievements and, all these things that we kind of have a tendency to want to do, that is so easy to get caught up in doing that. But he wants us to serve. He wants us to submit. He wants us to be different. We're a peculiar people. It means we don't do things like everybody else does. It means that, if you are the chief, he's saying, get your hands dirty and be willing to serve alongside those that are under you, those that are, they're the new people. But don't treat them disrespectfully, and don't think about just yourself. And maybe you've worked hard to get to where you are, and maybe that you've put your time in. And I know that sometimes I get like that, and I'm like, Lord, I've done my time. I've raised my kids, and Lord, I don't know if I, have got the energy to keep doing this. And he's like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to keep serving in this capacity. I want you to keep doing this. And, when I think about that I feel like sometimes that, Lord, I'm an empty nester, and things should be different now. And the Lord's saying, it's not time for that yet. It's not time for that yet. And he gets to decide. And so he's reminding us in these kind of scriptures that he doesn't want us to get caught up, even if we're older and we think we've put our time in and we think that we're do this or do that. He's like, no. Those that are chief, he that is chief as he that doth serve. What does it mean to serve? What does it mean to serve? It means that you're going to submit to some things. You're going to get your hands dirty. You're going to have to let go of some things. You're going to have to, not get your way about some things. And I'm the same way. This is speaking to me. That's why I'm in this scripture. This is speaking to me. I'm not going to get my way about things in life. But he's also showing this other example, and I want to move on. So he's telling us that ye shall not be so, verse 26 and verse 27, for whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat or he that serveth? Well, who's the greater one? He that sitteth at meat or he that's serving? He the one that's being served or the one that's serving? Who's greater? And it says, and because he's fixing to show another example here. It's not he that sitteth at meat, but I am among you as he that serveth. He's like, who's chief in this room? Who's chief among you? And yet I'm serving you. He was chief. Jesus is chief. Jesus is God. Jesus is our creator. Jesus is everything. Jesus has got all the power. He's got the very top position. I mean, no, you can't get no better position. If you think about what happened many, 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 many years ago, when the enemy started being a problem, it was because he wanted to be exalted. He wanted to be like God. He wanted to be God. And to battle against those urges that we have in our flesh to want to be head honcho, to want to be on top, to want to receive all of the rewards, to want to receive all of this or that, to want this or, to want to be like, oh, well, this should be this, this is my time in life where I should be able to put it in cruise, or I shouldn't have to work so hard, or whatever the case may be. Jesus is saying the enemy, that's what his problem was. That's what led to his downfall. That's what's led to him needing to be defeated. And Jesus did defeat. He defeated death, hell, and the grave. He's, and that is secured. The victory is secured through Jesus, through what he did, through what God himself did. And if we're not careful, we will be treating God as the enemy treated God, where we'll be, but Lord, look what I've done, but look who you've made me to be. Exactly, God made us. If we have a position, it's for us to serve in that position. If he's gave us opportunities, it's for us to use those opportunities. It's to look at people that we're around and say, you know what, they need Jesus. And they need to know about God's love and mercy and kindness and gentleness and compassion. And we need to serve with compassion, and with all of those things we need to serve. That's what Jesus said. And he says, I'm chiefest among all of you, and yet I'm serving. How much more should you be serving? Should I be serving? When Jesus himself came to seek and to save, when he came to serve as the sacrifice. He came to be the sacrifice for me and for you. And he had to leave that throne. He had to leave he had to leave another in order to serve. And he's saying, I'm chief. I'm the head honcho, and yet I'm serving. So how much more should we be serving when Jesus says he is serving? I'm going to read it one more time. For whether it is greater, he that sitteth at meat or he that serveth, is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you as he that serveth. Anytime that I get to where I'm like, Lord, I should be done with this. I shouldn't have to start changing diapers all over again. I shouldn't have to be, in a couple of years looking to potty train another one. Lord, I've put my time in. And he's like, well, when you think you're past all that, don't worry about it. Just keep serving. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.